Good morning and welcome back to the 8 o'clock hour of the WRMN Morning Show. Is 8:06. Is your coffee ready? Welcome back. You are here listening to me, Susie C., my co-host Elliot the L Train Serrano, and our very own Tom Holbrook, who is everything bozo.
Oh, my.
Welcome.
What did they used to say? Hey, that's me.
Hold on.
Yep.
I got something just for this.
Oh.
Let me pull that down
All right.
and let's pull this up.
Let's go.
The Bozo Show, starring the world's most famous clown, Bozo. And now here's Bozo.
And there he is.
Well, that brings back memories.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a good one. That was the theme song that they used on the variety of shows outside of the Chicago marketplace. And as a lot of people may know, in September of 1960, the Bozo Show debuted 65 years ago this month. Yeah.
Wow.
Bozo was first brought into our lives, yes, back in the 1960s.
Black and white.
I'm telling you, in the time that I've gotten to know Tom, I have my Bozo knowledge has expanded exponentially.
Very nice.
Again, seeing the whole bit with Bozo. I mean, I remember Bozo from the days on GN with Ringmaster Ned and Cookie and Bozo and Wizzo and the like. But I know his history goes way beyond that, long before that.
Oh, yes.
And I know, so for folks who are not familiar, Tom Holbrook here is our resident bozologist. He is also the founder of the Bozeum. That is a Bozo museum that is being constructed even now as we speak on the upper floors of the WRMN studios. And Tom's been hard at work doing that, pretty much a one-man operation, putting that together.
And no budget, may I?
No, but
Well, and when we took the paranormal, we had the paranormal guys here, and we went upstairs.
Yeah, I'm
there
there
was
late at
nothing.
night.
There was nothing. It was quiet and safe.
no ghosts up there.
Basement was crazy. So if Bozo was here, he was in the basement with everybody else.
Well, I heard you talking about Elgin's 100-year.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't know we are in 14 Douglas Avenue, and the city was raised an entire floor. So your basement is actually the ground level of the original storefronts and everything.
Oh, so that's why the stairs were, it's like concrete. There was a set of stairs. That makes sense.
Yeah,
so,
like next door here at the Brenneman's Clothiers, not to get off the subject, but the entire original facade of the business is still there in the basement.
Wow.
All bricked up and everything.
But speaking of Bozo, okay,
Oh,
this
my.
is this
Oh
month
my! Do you want me to
is
hold
the-
something?
Oh, no, I got plenty of
anniversary.
junk.
Okay.
It's the anniversary of the creation of Bozo. Can you give us a brief primer on the origin of Bozo and kind of like how it kicked off and got to where he is now?
Well, Bozo originated. Here's a book that I published called The Bozo Chronicles. I published this in 2010, and it's the origin and history of the Capitol Clown, and that's what Bozo was called. Back in 1946, in October, November, Bozo debuted with the very first record reader. The first time a book and a record were timed together. And with that, when Bozo blew his whistle, you would turn the page.
What? That is so cool.
Sold millions and billions and trillions of copies, was way up in the children's record charts, and it was the character was created by Alan Livingston and basically co-created with Pinto Colvig. And they had the concept and brought the character from the circus, basically. Colvig had a big influence because he was involved with the circus. He performed in the circus as a youth. He worked with Disney and everything like that. But anyways, when they created the Bozo character, they went directly to the Clyde Beatty Circus in 1946 and took a lot of great photographs. And so the first record reader, as they called them, originally they were called Looky Talkie Records, which is not really a great marketing name. It's fun, but it's not the greatest marketing name. So record reader came into play. And they went to, getting back on subject, they went to the Clyde Beatty Circus. They took a lot of great photographs. The original record reader was going to be illustrated with photographs. But then they took those photographs and created some beautiful, whimsical illustrations by Mary Fisher, and they captured the youth of the audience. The greatest thing about it was almost like a babysitter, like YouTube or television and stuff like that for moms. They could set the child up and put the record on, and next thing you know, they were entertained for hours, and they would just play them and play them and play them. But that one record, Bozo at the Circus, brought in and ushered in and marched in a plethora of wonderful Bozo records with Capitol. But the interesting thing is Capitol was kind of taken back. That's Bozo on the Farm. I love that LP. There was a number of other players involved, like June Foray and other voice actors like Paul Frees and stuff. But long story short, Capitol Records was like hit up and said, "Hey, can Bozo make appearances?" And they were like, "Wait a minute, Bozo's just on the records. How can he be?" And then Kovic said, "Wait, I'm a circus clown, and I'm more than happy to start doing appearances." And so he started doing all sorts of appearances, and then that created a number of very interesting opportunities that arose, being television on KTTV in 1949. Television shows back then were 15 minutes long, and then a big giant promo movie in 1950, 51, made for television pilots in the 50s. And around 1956, Alan Livingston was leaving Capitol, and so they licensed the character off to Mr. Larry Harmon. And Larry Harmon brought the character into more so into television that we know today. And he's the one that winged out the hair and called the character the world's greatest clown and the world's most famous clown, so to speak. And so here's when WGN got the license in 1960, Bob Bell was the only character on the show. And then Don Sandberg, the producer and director, had the idea to make the show as big as it was with the wonderful cast members and all the other players that were involved with the show. Here's Bob Bell with the circus Bozo drum. Here's some of the players here. We've got Sandy the Tramp, and we've got Cookie, and we've got Ray Rayner and Ringmaster Ned and Bob Bell and Bob Trendler. And so the show really took off, and then the show became so popular. As you know, kids were running home at noon to see the show, and a lot of people are like, "I'd like to find some of the films from that show." Well, unfortunately, the show was live, and unless there was a special reason, the 2-inch quad tape wasn't used. But the show gave away a lot of interesting and fun promotional pieces. Here's one that's very hard to find. It's a Bozo megaphone.
Uh-huh.
You would have folded this. I don't think this lasted too long because kids were probably like screaming at their parents, and they got rid of it. And then in the Bozeum, we're also going to show some of the other early promo pieces. Here's what's called a Do Funny. And it was a punch-out piece that kids would have received, and they would have put it together and pulled the tab, and Bozo would look like he's marching with the marching drum. And then you also have a bunch of Bozo buttons that were given away back in the studio days. But some of the people may not remember that Bozo came out, and I know I'm capitalizing on the conversation here, but there's so much to share.
No, that's what you're here for.
There's so much to share. But when Bozo came out, Bob Bell, and this is from 1963, I believe. 62. This is a year after. So Bob was wearing the red costume when he first came out, and television was in black and white. The red costume showed up very prominently in black and white, better so than blue. And that's the story that was basically brought in when Don asked Bob, "What color would you like your costume?" And they talked about it, and red was chosen. And when the show turned to color in the mid to late 60s, they opted for the blue costume. But there's a couple of episodes with him in the red costume that were taped by fans or saved by the studio or something like that. And here we got a great shot with Ringmaster Ned, as you had mentioned, Miss Susie, in regards to Ringmaster Ned and Don. We've got Ringmaster Ned, and we have Oliver Old Oliver, who is known as Ray Rayner, and he would do his morning show, and right after the morning show, Ray Rayner and friends, he would don the Oliver makeup, and they would get into character and do their run through for the show for the day and such. And a lot of people may not have ever seen Bob out of the makeup. And I have a wonderful photograph of Bob out of makeup here. And he's a pretty dapper fella. There he is Bob Bell out of makeup. He's a good-looking fella.
He sure is.
And his son, Jeff, looks just like him. It's pretty interesting. And but Bozo was so popular that he was featured on many... Oh, here's the tickets. People would have loved to have gotten these tickets back in the day. Then they would send away for these. Well, you know, Elliot, that they had
years.
10-year waiting list.
Yeah.
10-year waiting list.
I never got on. I had friends who made it on the Bozo show, but I never got a chance to be on. I never got a chance to attend it. So
there were many promos that they gave out on WGN. Here's a fun one when Fraser Thomas became the sidekick to Garfield Goose, who owned the circus. He bought the circus, kept it from running into oblivion, and the cast was a little bit smaller. We had just Bozo and Cookie, the great Roy Brown, who was
Garfield Goose.
Yeah, Garfield Goose.
God, these are bringing back so many memories.
There's a nice TV roundup cover with Bob on the cover. The accentuated photograph there. A lot of people may not know, but Bozo the Clown was also the very first spokes clown for McDonald's.
Even before Ronald?
Oh, even before Ronald.
Wow.
I had no idea.
And here's a little bit more information. The owner of McDonald's, the great Ray Kroc, as somebody may call him, Ray Kroc, so long story short, he worked out a deal because they were out of Chicago. They worked out a deal to have the WGN television show sponsor or be sponsored by McDonald's. And so the cast took a few photographs with some of the early products and such. But then when there was a little falling out with Mr. Larry Harmon and Ray Kroc, they couldn't come to terms. The great Ray Kroc took one of the bozos from Washington that a lot of people may know. His name was Willard Scott. Willard Scott was a bozo actor in Washington, D.C., and he was also the very first Ronald McDonald. And you can go on YouTube and see some...
The weather guy?
Yes. He was the first one. You can go on YouTube and catch some wild... You see an early commercial of him jumping around in the hamburger hat, the box hat, and the cup for a nose and everything like that. Here's Bob Bell having a great time on the show here. A lot of these photographs are directly from the Tribune archives. When the Tribune was releasing their archives, a friend of mine called me, and I tried to pick up as many of these as I possibly could have. Here's the cast again. We've got Ray Rayner and Cookie and Ringmaster Ned, Bob Trendler, and the great circus drum with Bozo there.
Now, for folks who aren't on the YouTube, you can catch all this on our Facebook page, as well as we'll have this interview posted on our Facebook and our YouTube page, so you can see all these photographs that Tom is sharing with everyone. There we go.
I wanted to show you guys. This is one of the items we're going to have up in the Bozeum. This is one of the red costumes. This is circa era 1962, 66, and it was owned by the Al Devoren Company, who had a license for bozo appearances. And Bob Bell did not like to make appearances outside of the circus, so an actor did a lot of the Chicago-based appearances. And so we were going to have the costumes up on display there. We have the red costume and a blue costume from Al Devoren. We were going to have the costume from Frank Avrush out of Boston. And that'll be a lot of fun to show with the big... I should have brought the shoes to show you. Everybody likes to see the shoes and the crazy wig. But
well, those will all be on display in the Bozeum, right?
They'll be on display in the Bozeum. Now, I'm not sure how many people we'll have on visiting, but we're definitely going to be creating a virtual tour, which will be a lot of fun for people to come to YouTube or to the WRMN website to view. And they're going to have a great time reminiscing and seeing a lot of fun things that they've never seen before.
Now, I know we've been talking about having a soft opening for the Bozeum, doing like some special private tours, folks who can make donations for the continued development of the Bozeum. When do you think you'll start having some private tours going on?
I'm looking for the October and November time period to celebrate the 79th anniversary of the character's creation.
And then next year will be the big 80th.
Oh yeah,
right?
it'll be the big 80th.
Right.
Yeah, hopefully things will coalesce and come together. We have been painting the walls and adding decor. All the paint was donated. The decor was salvaged from various print shops, one being the Responsive Mailroom in Elgin. I worked there part-time, and so whenever some discards were being let go of, I was grabbing them and utilizing them to the best of my abilities to accentuate things and put things together. A lot of things have had to been created. Interestingly, I wanted to put together a little bozo bedroom kind of setup with the nightlight and the alarm clock and everything like that. So I cannibalized a crib and redecorated it and reformatted it to look bed-like, so it'll have the bozo sheets and comforter and pillowcase. And strangely enough, if everything would have come out at the same time over the last 65 years, and Larry Harmon owned the character for over 50. He purchased the rights to the character in 1956 from Capitol. He passed away in 2010 or so. And then now David Arquette, as we know, has the character, and he's owned the character since about 2022, 2023, somewhere around there. And he's doing a lot of fun things with the character. But if all the bozo products had come out at one time, you would have a complete bozo day. From waking up in your bozo sheets and comforter, from having taken a bozo bath with your towels and washcloth and bath soaps, and then you would have woke up in the morning and had bozo cereal, in a special bowl and a spoon with bozo milk. And then, of course, you'd have lunchtime. And what would lunchtime be? Bozo hot dogs and potato chips and soda pop and peanut butter and bread and jelly and... Wow.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
How about snacks?
Oh,
snacks.
Bozo snacks.
Bozo dogs for the next sports outing. All right, I have this image queued up here for you, Tom, and I know you know who this is.
Oh, the great
there
Marshall
he
Brodeen.
is, Marshall Brodeen. That's nice.
What a great man. What a wonderful man. He's creator of TV Magic Cards, the creator of
The Marshall Brodeen Magic Kit.
Oh, yes,
I
it's
remember that
easy
one.
once you know the secret.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've shared this memory with you. I remember as a kid watching the Bozo show, and I did not know that Marshall Brodeen and Wizzo were the same person. for the
Nobody
longest
did.
time. I did not know. And then I found out later, oh, wait, they're the same person. Fine. And then the Marshall Brodeen Magic Kit, I remember going, look, I told my mom and dad, buy me one of these magic kits, and I'm never going to ask you for allowance again because there's a magic money maker in there where if I put in a blank sheet of paper, $1 will come out, and then I will never have to bother you for an allowance ever again. Needless to say, the disappointment on young Elliot's face when he realized it wasn't real. It wasn't like quote unquote real. It was a illusion.
Illusion. Well, it's funny was my grandfather was a magician and would never tell us his secrets.
You don't want to
I'm
know
like,
the
I'm your
secret.
granddaughter. He's
You don't
like,
wanna
nope,
know,
would
no.
never tell us. So my friend Vance says he had the bozo sheets and he still has the pillowcase.
Oh, wow.
How cool is
That's
that?
fantastic to have that stuff. A funny thing about the magic kit that Marshall had put out, he told me a story about this once. He said that he was contacted by a woman who bought the kit for her child, and looking through the magic apparatus and everything, she called him or even wrote to him or something and said, hey, there's no money in this kit. And it had very small type, money not included. Yeah, money not included. Marshall created various magic sets for Disney and Siegfried and Roy, Lance Burton, and a television show a lot of people may not remember, but it was a lot of fun. It was with Bill Bixby called The Magician.
I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that one.
It was a big set that he had created for that. And Marshall created probably several hundreds, I'm going to say, at least several hundreds of magic sets of different varieties. Dalmatian, 101 Dalmatians, Aladdin for Disney and everything. And his influence, I like to tell people that he influenced and inspired more magicians than Harry Houdini.
I'm sure because he made the.
Well, it was accessible.
It was exactly. He made those kits so kids can put it together. It was like there were your two kinds of kids. You had the kids who either wanted the chemistry set or they wanted the magic set. You know, chemistry
or the erector set.
Or the erector set. Yeah. Okay, three kids.
Yeah.
You had the engineers, you had the chemists, and then you had the magician kids. So that's something. Well, before we hit the bottom of the break, I do believe we did have an announcement. I know it had to do with Wizzo and Marshall Brodeen. You have an announcement for first responders?
Oh, yeah. Well, with first responders, Dino has asked that Wizzo, the wacky wizard, make an appearance at the festival, and I think it's admirable to have somebody like Wizzo there to add to the fun and everything. And Wizzo's been around. I've been performing Wizzo for the last 8, maybe even 9 years now. And Marshall was a mentor to me and a great friend. He brought me into showbiz with Roy. They told me when I was a kid, "Hey, you're good enough to have an agent. Here's a card and tell them we sent you." And so we rolled with that and went out there and performed. And a lot of people may not know, along with portraying Wizzo as I do currently, which has been a blessing from the family. And we do a lot of Alzheimer's awareness events and charity events and variety shows and even parades and such. And then prior to that, from 2002 to about 2006, I portrayed the character of Bozo the Clown from New York City all the way to Las Vegas, and the Larry Harmon Picture Corporation had me running about with the winged hair and the big shoes and the ball nose, making appearances for licensed events and special occasions and personal appearances and variety shows and such like that. But opening the Bozeum and having WRMN 1410 on your radio dial as a sponsor has really been a blessing. We are putting together, and maybe people don't know this, a 800 square foot location here.
Yep.
And many, many, many things to see that people have never seen, and some things that may bring you back to fondness from way back in the day.
And that's going to be here at this, right here at 16 Douglas Avenue, here in downtown Elgin, the Bozeum, on the second level of WRMN Studios. But you will be able to meet Wizzo, the wacky wizard, at First Responders Fest this weekend, Saturday, September 20th.
We'll be doing all kinds of fun magic.
Our friend Todd.
I've met Wizzo.
Looking good, Todd.
I've met Wizzo at Nightmare on Chicago Street. I'm telling you, sent me back meeting Wizzo and Bozo.
Yeah, we had a great time.
It was a lot of fun.
And it's fun to be out there during Halloween because you really grab people's attention.
Man, people were, you guys.
We were the hit next to Svengoolie.
Yeah. People were going
And
crazy.
whatever else is going on out there. It's crazy. Yeah. It's a wonderful time. They're having that again, I imagine.
No, definitely.
We'll be out there.
Yeah. All right, Tom.
Thank you,
so much.
WRMN.
No, thank you so much. This was so cool. So many memories. I can't wait for the Bozeum to open. Get up there and really look at things.
You can learn more about the Bozeum and Bozo on Facebook. Look up the Bozeum on Facebook. There's their own Facebook page. Tom's got pictures of all the different artifacts, shots of the different. I'm probably going to go up to the Bozeum and take some shots of the progress as it currently is. All right, folks, when we come back, we've got the folks from Gobert's Farm here. Thank you so much, Tom, for coming in.
Thank you. Have a great morning.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it.
This is the WRMN Morning Show.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.